Good afternoon to all the guests, resource person of the day, Mr. Ankit Pandya and Mrs. Bhuneshwari from MIT Square, London, and to all the participants. We will have a short welcome address by Mrs. Bhuneshwari by MIT from MIT Square. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon to everyone present here. First of all, I would like to thank Kirti ma'am for organizing and the entire RISE Center of Excellence to organize a very wonderful program, FTP. FTP has proven to be a successful to teaching skills in higher education by making the learning methodology more acceptable, easy to comprehend, contemporary yet rigorous in evaluation procedures. In India, faculty development program is aiming for India's higher education system in attaining sustainable development and achieving higher growth rates, which could be enabled through creation, transmission, and dissemination of knowledge. Higher education at all levels in the country is witnessing a consistent growth pattern marked by setting up of new institutions and the improvement of the existing ones. Demand for qualified teachers and faculty members over the next few years would be substantial and will become extremely critical for states to expand the current institutional capacities, not only for infrastructure, but also of qualified and trained faculty members. So, to complement the transition and the rapid growth in the technical education domain, it is an imperative for the faculties also to be well versed, well trained, and updated to be able to deliver what the requirements are. It is about building capacity for teaching and research with technology. I hope this FTP will build that kind of capacity for each and one of you, and I'm confident it will create a clear teaching and research path for you all. Best wishes on behalf of the entire RISE team. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for such kind words. And definitely, the FDP will pave way for quality teaching and enhance research capabilities of all faculty members. Now, I call upon Dr. Bindu Evedi, Assistant Professor from Department of Commerce, to introduce the resource person to the gathering. Over to Dr. Bindu.
Am I audible? A very good afternoon to one and all. I'm very privileged to introduce the resource person, Mr. Ankit Pandya, for the second day FDP on research methodology and teaching. Mr. Ankit Pandya is Assistant Director at Parole University. He is a management professional with more than 8 years of experience, which includes 2 years of industrial experience and 5 years of training and placement, and career development for future talents. He is also indulged into learning and development activities for different cadre of employees for the last 2 years. He is also active in public speaking and a soft skill trainer catering to the current needs. He is currently managing 2000 plus different employees for their skill upgradation, learning and development at Parole University. Sir, you can now take over the session.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And thanks a lot, Bhuvneshwari, ma'am, also for starting with this session with a very good statements. I would say that, sustainable development, that is something which is very much required nowadays, be it anyway, whether it is an academic institute or any of the organization. Sustainability is something which is very much important, which is one of the part of the presentation which I'm going to have a discussion upon today. Just one thing I want to confirm is I hope the presentation is visible because I have already uploaded. Yeah, it is there. Perfect. So as what information I have received from the organizing committee is that today we are having a lot of teachers who are going to join with us for this particular session, and a very brief discussion that we are going to do is upon the topic which is teaching and research ethics. Very vast topic to cover in a 1 hour session, but definitely I'll try my best to deliver what expectations all the teachers have, and what exactly the ethics are. So, focusing upon what we are going to have a discussion upon is that the major ethical world includes five important aspects which I have mentioned over here. The first is what exactly this ethics are, or rather, I would say the organizational ethics, or I would say the teaching ethics, which we are going to consider today. Then we would be having a very brief focus upon ethical principles to consider while working with the organization as a teacher, as a staff member, or as any of the employee cadre of that organization. Post to which we are also going to have how to apply this ethics related things into your organization or the business. Then we would be having few of the ethical issues which we are going to have a discussion upon, and at the end how to foster the culture of integrity. That is something we are going to study, along with a very brief discussion upon the research ethics which we all need to focus upon. Starting with the first one, I have two QR codes right now visible on your screens. I would like to request all the participants to please scan these two QR codes. The first is the personal ethics assessment, which I want all the participants to go through, where I have mentioned few questions with certain research related outputs. So, personal ethics is something which you, being an employee or being an individual, would be considering as your own ethics to cover while you are having your work going on simultaneously. And the second QR code, which you can see on your screen, where I have written organizational ethics assessment, I want all the participants to go through that as well, because these two particular assessments will give a clear cut idea to all the participants about what is true and ethical and what is not true, or I would say unethical, according to your own mindset or perspective. This is something which is very important before starting anything related to ethics, to first understand that what according to you is ethical and what according to you is unethical. So the moment you would fill up these two forms, you would be in the position to understand the whole presentation which I'm going to share. So I think you can get a screenshot of this particular slide which is there in front of you, so that you can scan the QR code and put your assessment details on the same. So I would not be putting much time on this particular thing, because this is an ongoing process. I want all the participant to just scan it and fill it. In between that particular time, I hope everyone has taken the screenshot, or at least have scanned these two forms. Once you scan it, you can keep it in your minimized form in your phone or laptop or whatever you have. So I can continue further. Yeah. So the ethics statement itself is something which we need to understand. That is, this is the general understanding which I'm going to share here with all of you. The study of situations, activities, decisions where issues of right and wrong are addressed. Now, say, for example, you are having your subordinate with whom you are having a specific conversation going on, where you are assigning something to your subordinate, and that person, as his or her mindset is different, is considering the work which is given by you as not the prioritized work, and he or she is neglecting that work by not knowing or understanding. He's taking the decision on that particular thing by his own, because he's not aware about what is ethical and what is not. So that is where the ethical things come in between. Now, again, when I say ethics, it is important to understand it is a study of a situation as well. Now, when I say this particular situation, which I just kept in front of all of you, the second is the activity. Now, say, for example, you have your immediate authority who is informing you or delegating you a specific work. Now, while delegating that work, your authority, or immediate authority, rather, I would say, is not informing you what is the expectation on that particular work. So again, if the delegation has happened properly or not, that is the question. And there again, the organizational ethics come in between. Being a teacher, the third very important thing is the decision. Now, when I say decision, let's take an example of a student and a teacher. Now, if a teacher is assigning a specific task to his or her student, if student is not in the position to deliver what is expected out of him or her, and the teacher is not in the position to guide the student why exactly this has happened, again the ethical dilemma comes in between, that what is right, what is wrong, the way how we have collected the information. Say for example, you have given something as a data sample to your student, and you said that okay, you do the research on this particular topic. Now student, might be possible, even we do sometimes, that we are not getting the expected outcome on that particular research. So what the student will do to get the escape window, he or she will do, he will change the tool which is used to understand the research work. So what is this? This is again the ethical question, that whether to consider it right or wrong. That is where the decision which the student is taking and the teacher is permitting is coming in the picture. So again, let's focus on the decision once again. The organizational ethics or the teaching ethics includes three important ways: the situation to consider, the activities to consider or you are taking care of, and the decision which you are taking, considering what is right and what is wrong universally, not according to you or not according to the organization or not according to your teammates or colleagues with whom you are spending your time. Now, here I have mentioned how to make ethical decisions. So, I have mentioned 12 important principles which are very much important for ethical decision making. So, the first starts here with honesty. If you're not honest with your work, if you're not honest with your organization, the decisions which you are taking or the situations which you are dealing will not help you to take ethical decisions. So, honesty is the first and the foremost principle to have ethical decision making properly. The next very important is fairness. Now, again, fairness is a part of honesty where you are expected to be equally treated or equally treating everyone, those who are there in front of you, in terms of ethics. Now, as I have already mentioned, that ethics is not only about understanding the situation, activities, and decisions, but it is also about taking the right and wrong decisions in your understanding so that you can understand both. It's not only about understanding the right decision, it is also not only about understanding the wrong decision, but it is the combination of both. If you are in the position to separate both the things, what is right and what is wrong, you will be fair with all the people, those who are there. Being a teacher, I would say we have a lot of students in front of us. Favoritism is one of the very common problem that we all have. Now, how to deal with those fair issues, or how to deal those things with being a fair mentor for all the mentees that you have, that is something which is an essential part of ethical decision making. The next comes here is leadership. Being a teacher, you are the one who is leading the whole class together. So when you are having, say for example, 60 students in front of you, or when you are the one who is a scholar who is having plenty of people to get the guidance from, it is important to be a good leader. Now when I say a bit to be a good leader, it is not only about taking the decisions, but it is also about understanding what all parameters you have considered while taking the decision. So leaders, again, you might have heard about all this quotes, that leaders are those who are taking the team with them. So it's not about you being a boss and people are working under you, but it is all about you being a leader and having the whole team working with you, not under you but with you. The next comes integrity. Very importantly, the integrity is a part of ethical decision making, where you need to be understandable of how to assign the task in your team, how to assign the task with all three major principles which I have just discussed, that is honesty, fairness, and leadership. These three are the very important aspects to consider while having the integrity in the point. The next comes compassion. See, we being a teacher, we have this particular problem with the compassion. Say for example, I would not mention many of the things here, but very importantly I would like to mention here that if you are a teacher, consider yourself with compassion that yes, I'm a teacher. Then and then only you would be in the position to have a fair judgment on what your work is and on what basis you are taking the decisions. So your compassion of being a teacher is something which will help you as a base to build a building of all the ethical decision making. Very importantly, it is understandable to all the teachers that your compassion is the only driving force which will help you take the decision making ethical. Considering the same, let's move ahead. The next comes is the respect. And it's not only respecting your own self, but respecting all your colleagues, respecting all your fellow mates, respecting your subordinates, and respecting your mentees as well. Now, this particular fraternity, we have this particular what I would say salutations to use while we are having conversation going on. Say, for example, we are not from the industrial background, and we generally use madam and sir with the name. So that is one way of representing the respect in front of the person who is having the conversation going on with you. But only the salutations would not help to get the respect in order to fulfill what we are achieving or what we are trying to achieve. So your respect should come from within, and for that reason we need to understand our fraternity, because generally what happens, we have a lot of internal what I would say competition, because of which that respect somehow is getting compromised, not in front but at the back. So understanding that teaching fraternity is the fraternity where a lot of respect should be there to all and from all, so that ethically you can take the decision not only for the authorities that are there immediate to you, but for the subordinates and your colleagues as well. The next comes in the picture is the responsibility. Now, when I say responsibility, it is all about how well you can understand your own responsibility as a teacher, your own responsibility as a research scholar, your own responsibility as a person who is the one who is driving the future of our own country. So it is important to understand that you are responsible for your own doing. Take the accountability of what you do. And that is where the decision making will be ethical in terms of understanding of right and wrong. Now, when I say responsibility, it is important for you to understand. See, sometimes this happens that if we are having a conversation going on with our students, say for example, students, if you are a research scholar, you will be asking your guide that sir or ma'am, I'm not in the position to understand which topic to go ahead with in my research. So what your mentor or what your research guide will do is that he or she will get you the detail that okay, I have 2 3 projects already with me, you can just go through any of these projects, whatever project you would find good to go ahead, you get that project and start working upon it. That is a very wrong way of dealing with the research activities. Now, when I say wrong way, why it is wrong is all about research should be carried out with an aim and a focus that this is something where I would like to plan the things further and get the effective outcome of what is to be done and what not to be done. So that is your responsibility to look after. So understanding your own responsibility is one of the important aspects while having the ethical decision making as a center or core. Loyalty, towards your organization, loyalty towards understanding of what is to be done and what not to be. So that is again the way through which loyalty towards your own self also is one of the important aspects. Why? Because see, generally in this 21st century, we have this trouble, a very deep point I'm going to share, but we have this trouble that if you ask, very common example I'm giving you, if you ask your students, and even if many of us, if you ask to your own self, we would be not in the position to share our own introduction for at least 3 minutes. And the same will happen to your students as well. You can try it out in your classes. But at the same time, if you ask your students, or you can ask yourself as well, that if someone asks you that I want to know something about that person, we all would be having all the details, minute details, I would say, about that person with us. So, this showcases what? It showcases that we are very much indulged about or into what others do, rather understanding what is to be done from your side. So this is what the problem we have, because of which that loyalty towards your own self is also very much important. The next, the ninth ethical principle that I'm going to share with you is law abiding. Right now, when we are having a lot of data policies are getting framed up by a lot of organizations, universities, colleges, and institutes, it is important to understand the technicality of maintaining the ethical or the data which is to be taken as the part of understanding the base. Now when I say the authenticity of data is very much important, again when I say authenticity, it is important to understand we all have a lot of trouble in finding certain journals as well, so that you can authenticate those journals and then do the publication. Now why this happens is that, see, generally we all know that in our PhD we need to have at least two research papers and one conceptual paper, that is, or a review article that is to be submitted. That is a minimum requirement of having a PhD. Now understanding that how to authenticate the journal list where you would like to publish your article or paper, that is something which is a challenging task right now. So that is where this law abiding is important, where UGC and Scopus and Web of Science, they are taking a lot of measures to get the things law abided, so that researchers would be in the position, or teachers would be in the position, to get the authenticated data or research papers to work upon. Next comes accountability of what you do. Now, being accountable is all about getting the work done and accepting that, okay, this is something which is done by me. Next comes is the transparency. Very rare, but very important. Transparency, why it is required? So I was having this conversation going on today morning only with one of my colleagues who was the resource person here yesterday. So we were having this discussion that why we are not having transparency between teachers. Say, for example, I am belonging from the Department of Human Resources, and the person who is from the Human Resources department is not aware about how many research papers I have published in last 1 month. Why? And then we are expecting that we are not getting citations. How could this be possible? So what solution we both had a discussion about is that if you are having a particular research paper which you have published recently, share that particular copy of your research paper with your colleagues, and you can do the same from vice versa. What this will help you with is that your citation, because whenever that person is going to read your article or research paper, and then when he or she is publishing the same thing further in his or her own research work, then that citation would be there for you, which will help that person as well, because the references also are very much important while you are having your research paper getting published. So your H index will be improvised, and your citation reviews also would be there in front of you. So transparency with your colleagues and with your authorities or the subordinates again is very much important to have ethical decision making. And the last is environmental consciousness, that is the environment where in you are working, the place where you are having your work going on, the university or the department where you are having your work to be represented. So these are the 12 important principles where these 12 principles, if you are taking care of while having the decision making process going on, related to any of the activities inside the campus or inside your work area, then it will definitely help you to get the ethical decision to be done by yourself and for the others as well. Now let's move ahead. We are having this particular three important aspects to consider while mapping your organization or your work with SDGs. So when I would like to just give the reference to when I started this particular session, that is when Bhuvneshwari ma'am said that sustainability is very much important, sustainable development is very much important in the teaching fraternity. I would like to mention everything which we are doing is to be mapped with sustainable development goals which you are planning for your future. So this SDGs are sustainable development goals. Now, how to apply those ethics in your organization being a teacher is something you need to first understand what exactly the ethics means, which we just had a conversation about. The next comes is for whom you are having the ethics to be applied. See, it should not be the case that for your authorities you have a different ethics, for your same level people, that is your colleagues, you have a different way of ethics or with different ways of dealing with the ethics. And the last is your subordinate, again where you have a different way to deal with the ethical decisions. But it is all about understanding for whom you are taking the decision, level 1, 2 or 3. So it is not about having a different decision, but it is all about having for whom you are taking the decision. And the third, very important, why this particular decision is being taken. So when I say why, it is all about understanding the ethical principles in your back of the mind, that these 12 principles will help you understand the why answer for this particular organizational or teaching related ethic. Now, a very small example I have mentioned, I hope you all would be in the position to see this particular screen in front of you. So for any of the organization, those who are into teaching, definitely the sustainable development goals, I have mentioned few. These are not the enough ones. You have more sustainable development goals as well. You might be having less according to what ethical decision you are taking. But these sustainable 17 goals which I have mentioned will help you understand, and more often it will help you to understand in taking the decisions properly, considering the ethics. The first is, see, we all are teaching our children, we all are teaching our students to make them, what I would say, successful. Now, when I say it is success, it is all about you would be having no poverty system in your the whole country, I would say. The second sustainable development goal is zero hunger. Now, when I say zero hunger, this is one of the goals which you can consider according to the decisions which you would like to take in future. The next comes the good health and well-being, for which we all are working, definitely. I think everyone would agree to this. Quality education, very important. The education which is qualitative is something which will help our students to sustain more in their future. Then gender equality, this is more of an understanding so as to support the society in terms of understanding of gender equality. Then clean water and sanitization. Again, when I say clean water and sanitization, this is one of the sustainable development goals. Being a teacher, we need to consider, and then according to which we can take the decision for our students. Then affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth of all. This is what we, being a teacher, if we understand and pass it on to our students, this ethical decision making process is a chain reaction kind of a process, where one particular person is passing it to other, then that person will pass it to other, and this is how the ethical chain will work upon. The industry, the innovation and the infrastructural development, reduced inequalities, very important, sustainable cities and communities. This will help in a very future goal setting. Responsible consumption and production, that is the 12th one, responsible consumption, and again according to which you can have a production. Climate action, climatic changes, life below water, that is also something which we need to consider. Life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions, so that it will create a base for the future to come. And the last, which I have mentioned, is partnership for the goals. These all are the sustainable development goals considered according to the government's current policies, and these are the goals where we, being a teacher, should be focused upon, while this will help our students and us as well into making the decision making process more easy, so that we can understand what is right and what is wrong. Now, 6 steps I have mentioned here, which are the, ethically considered as decision making issues which we are going to face. The first is discrimination. So, as I said in the previous few slides, that we, being a teacher, we are having that particular issue of favoritism, because see, sometimes it is all about understanding, and sometimes it is all about getting the work done. Say for example, one student is helping you to get your work done very well, that person will be favorite to me. But rather, taking off that favoritism aside, understanding whether that favoritism is coming in the picture while taking the decision for all the students or not, that is something where we need to have our focus area, where this discrimination comes in the picture. The second is health and safety, very important in our sustainable development goals as well. I have mentioned one, that is, you can see over here, that is responsible consumption and production, along with the climate action. So that is where your health and safety comes in the picture. The next is whistleblowing for everyone. So if something is going wrong, whether the whistleblowing from all the participants of that particular situation or decision making process are coming together to take the effective and righteous decision or not, that is something which is important to understand. The next important factor here is ethical accounting, very important. We all are having a lot of cases which we are studying nowadays, that accounting and accountability both. Now when I say accounting, it is all about whether you are taking the decision related to your accountability in an ethical way or not. So again, I have mentioned it, whether it is a right one or it is a wrong one. Then the data policies, very important in 21st century. Why? Because while considering the data policies, the authentication of data, the duplication of data, the mining of data, and getting the information out of the data, this is the whole process in which a lot of care is to be taken, while having the same time, at the same time, we are having the ethical dilemmas as well, that whether the question is there on the data or not. If you have the question on the data and still you are carrying on your research, then ultimately you are ending up with a particular outcome where again you need to start from the scratch. Why? Because you have problem with the base and you are continuing the same further. The last ethical issue which you might face, or we all face, is technology and privacy. Privacy is something which is definitely hindered by technology many times. Why it is all about? See, the more we are having advancement in the technology, is more we are having trouble with the privacy, because you don't know which all are the, listed journals, and which all are not non-listed fake journals. That is where the technology again will create a problem as well, but will get you the solution too. Now when I say problem, it is all about you have all the resources available online. So even if you search any of the journal, research journal, best research journal in India, you'll be having plenty of names available on your website. But at the same time, if you're having a specific idea about where to find out the authenticated journals, I'll be definitely giving you some names here. So it will help you, the technology will help you to take a righteous decision without hindering your privacy. Let us move ahead. Fostering culture of integrity. As I said, this is the last point where I would be focusing upon ethical decision making, and then we are moving ahead to the research ethics further. So motivating your employees individually to act ethically, this is how you can integrate your employees and the organization together. Now when I say employee and organization, it is all about the teacher and the student, the teacher and the authority, the teacher and the teacher, and the teacher and the subordinates, everyone in the picture. So, motivate your employees individually first to act ethically, get them understand, or let them understand, give them importance of what ethical practices are, so that now if they know, because many a times it is possible that we don't know what is ethical and what is not. So that is where motivation will help you. Promoting integrity and codes of ethics through modeling, mentoring, and other activities. Now when I say modeling, it is all about practical learning. So say for example, you take one particular activity as a set of example, that okay, this is what you want as an ethical decision or as a ethical outcome to be done in this sort of situation. Take examples of previous situations where you have have had a problem in getting the decision making done, but anyhow you did that, considering the ethics. So that will help you in mentoring the employees of your organization. Now again, when I say organization and employee, it is all about the whole picture, the whole environment, people, those who are involved in the same. Ensuring that performance management and reward system do not contradict or undermine core values of a business. Very important aspects, that performance management and reward system is something which is very essential for any of the organization or individual to grow or to get motivation from, but it should not contradict or undermine the core values of the business. Say for example, the core vision of my business is to grow with integrity and ethical way, but in between that, if someone unethically getting the outcome to me or to my business or to my institution or organization or college, then I would be rewarding that person. No, that is wrong. You need to inform that person that you did the work very well, but it was not through a correct process or a correct way. It should be ethical, and then only the reward system will help you grow further. Otherwise, again, the disparities will be there between the employees of your own organization, which will, in a way, in a near future, will not help the organization to sustain. Demonstrating to employees that business is willing to walk the talk. So it is all about you come, have a discussion, get the solution, we sit together to get the solution ethically once again, so that we can have a further discussion. Now, let us now focus upon few. I have mentioned 7 different ways to consider while having your research going on, and that is where we call it research ethics. The first is, as I said very recently, that is data acquisition, data management, data sharing, and data ownership. First is data acquisition. From where you acquired the data, how you are managing the data, the sharing, again, the data authenticity, transparency in sharing the data, and having the ownership where the plagiarism check will be coming in the picture. So these four important aspects, while considering the data, the sample of your research work, will be very much important. Second, very important point which I'm going to mention here is mentor and trainee responsibilities. See, it is not about if you are a research scholar, there the mentor and the mentee, or the mentor and the trainee, you both have your own responsibilities. I just have given an example that a research scholar is right now confused that which particular topic to choose, and the guide or the mentor is saying that I have 3 4 points with me, you choose anyone, do the research work, we both will be happy afterwards. No, this is not a happy go lucky life, kind of a situation where you have a Tom and Jerry situation and everyone at the end are very happily living together. No, please. So mentor has the responsibility to guide the mentee in a way that ethically they can get the outcome according to what they have thought. And the trainee will be having the responsibility of getting his or her own understanding, and according to that only he or she must have selected the point or the research article or the research topic on which he or she would like to continue further. It is not about that आज मुझे ख्याल आया है कि चलो ये कर देते हैं and let's get it done. No, it's all about you have certain issues on which you would like to have your research. So that is your own responsibility as a mentee to get the research done with your mentor. The publication practices and the responsible authorship, I have just mentioned that for any of this publication related thing, while you are having a research scholar profile going on, you need to have 2 research papers and 1 conceptual paper with you. So how to authenticate those publication practices, the ethical publication practices, you can go to UGC care list, where you have the listed journals which are the authenticated one for the social science, most probably. Scopus is for science and technology, where you would find a lot of listed journals where you can understand the publication practices, and you can then take it further. Web of Sciences also is one of the platform where you can have a lot of information related to authenticated data publication and the journals, where you can have your publication practices to be taken care of. The next comes is the peer review. Very important, but very ignorant we are all about the same. So I have recently mentioned in our teaching ethics that you have a very good mindsets or a very good resources of different, say for example cadre. Say for example I am from science and technology, I have my peer who is from management, then we have one from the medicine, we have one from social science, we have one from any of these fields. So why not to share my work related to the research which I have done or published with them first, so that you can have a peer review system. They can give you the review according to their expertise as well. Okay, this will help you to have citation and H index related queries to be resolved. If your peers have reviewed your own paper, then definitely when they would be having their work going on, they will be definitely, you can request them as well that if you are having this particular thing going on, because if you are sharing, then they will share as well. But if we have this issue, मैं क्यों करूं? So the same person who is there in front of you will be having the same issue. मैं क्यों करूं? Okay, so that citation which we are having the trouble with will not be resolved if we are having this peer review system, will be resolved if we are having the peer review system in the picture. The next comes collaborative sciences. So when I say collaborative science, it is all about working together with your peers and then publishing something on the same thing. Say for example you have a specific research work going on mental health and wellness, which we are also doing here in my organization. We are having for every employee, we are having their own induction process. We have At the beginning, we have happiness at workplace, that also we are taking care of. So if I'm not in the position to understand what is happiness for my peons, if I'm not in the position to understand what is happiness for my clerks, what is happiness for my teachers, what is happiness for my principals, what is happiness for my doctors and nursing staff members, it is all about working together. If I'm having happiness index related research going on, where I would be including the person from science and technology, I'm including a person from social science, from management, from medicine, from social work, there I would be having a vast area to explore. So collaborative science is all about getting involved with a lot of different verticals while having the research work going on, so that you can get overall outcome which is universal, because you have considered everyone together. So consider that as well in your research ethics. Very important is research misconduct. This see, it is possible that knowingly or unknowingly you might have done this. So what happens here is, the misconduct includes misconduct or manipulation of data, internal and external validity consideration for the data, and changing the tools because we are not getting the desired outcomes. So this is according to our convenience, we change the tool. Say for example, I'm having a specific research work going on a specific topic, but I'm not getting the desired outcome or the output from that particular tool which I'm using. Then what I'll do is, to get the effective or the desired, not effective, sorry, the desired outcome, I'll change the tool. So that tool changing is not giving you the effective outcome, but it is giving you the desired outcome. Understand the difference between these two. Very thin line of difference, but very important. Desired outcome is something which you want. Effective outcome is something which you would be getting, which is the real outcome. So understanding this research misconduct related 3 points: manipulation of data, validity of data, whether it is internally or externally, and changing the tool for the convenience of your own. These three important things are very important. And the last is conflict of interest and commitment. So my commitment is that I'll finish my research work by second year of my PhD, and the interest is that anyhow I'm too much occupied into my own things. So what I'll do is, my interest is I'll finish it. So generally what happens is, for the 4 years of your PhD, you are having nothing to be done. You are just focusing upon your guide and the mentee mentorship which you are getting from your guide. And at the end of your fourth year, you will be like, oh, I need to face two important research paper publication which I need to do, and one citation also which I need to do. Okay, let's rush. No, please understand, your interest and your commitment should align together, so as to get the effective and the desired both outcomes together. So these all are the 7 important ethics, or rather I would say research ethics consideration tools, which will help you understand the effective outcome while having your research going on. So I'll just once again repeat the 7 important points: the data acquisition, management, data sharing, and data ownership. Then the mentor and trainee responsibilities, publication practices and responsible authorship, peer review, very important. I'm again quoting this: peer review will help you a lot in future for your own growth and for the growth of your peers as well. Collaborative science, research misconduct must be avoided, and conflict of interest and commitment, it should be aligned together. Now this is all from my side, where I have shared few of the important. Again, I have not explained a lot in details. I have just touched the topics, and then you can take it further. The forum is very much welcome for all the questions which you have related to the topic which we have considered. I would be more than happy to get you the answers of the questions which you have. Thank you very much.
So there is a question from a participant.
Hmm.
In case there is non-alignment between the individual ethics and organizational ethics, what is your suggestion? How do we handle such situation?
A very important situation. I think the participant who have asked this question might have faced the situation as well. See, when you are having no alignment between the individual or and the organizational ethics, then it is the responsibility of yours to get that particular thing in front of your organization or your authorities. If you do so, ultimately, see, this is again a question where the ethics are very much important to consider. Where first, the organization, if they are in the position to understand the outcome of considering the ethics, they will understand that why you have quoted this particular thing out in front of them. See, everywhere, even any organization you work with, you would be having conflicts in your own and the organizational ethics. But it is important that how you represent, you need to be very clear about the objectives because of which you as an individual are considering this particular point or the target or the topic as ethical. So those objectives should be very clear with you so that you can represent those objectives in front of your organization or authorities so that they would be in the position to analyze it properly. See, if you're not having a plan with you about how to represent the same in front of your organization, it won't help you because you yourself are not clear about why this particular ethical issue or this particular ethical practice is important to be followed. So you need to be first ready with the objective so that you can represent the same to your organization. If the organization will find, because see, we all work with organizations where ROI, return on investment, is very important. Try to understand this. So, if you are in the position to clear your objectives based on the organizational ROI and their interest as well, then they will definitely consider the ethical statement or the ethical practices to be included in the system. So you can definitely try. I'm sharing this personal experience of mine which I'm doing at the organizations where I work. So I personally recommend you to do the same. Be ready with the objectives. If you are ready with the objectives of your organizational ethical practices, it will definitely help you in a long run. I'm just one minute I would be taking. I'm again on my screen putting this ethical assessment tools or the QR codes, I would say. I want all the participants to just scan both the QR codes and put your quiz over here. I have 12 questions in each of the assessment where I want you to go through it and answer it accordingly. You will definitely get the effective understanding about what is ethical and what is non-ethical or unethical. So if you have not done, please do it. If you are done with this, thank you very much. Yeah. Any further question?
So there's another question on this mentor mentee. Generally, the practice is you take up a comfortable area for research because, again, research becomes an academic requirement.
True.
So, and if we are a little bit adventurous when it comes to taking a research topic, then the research might turn up to be inconclusive over a period of time.
Very
Then the career of the scholar is at stake. See,
true.
a
True.
scholar cannot invest 10 or 15 years in the research
Obviously.
program. So, what is
Obviously.
your suggestion in terms of this choosing a topic which has social relevance? So, how do we go about and convince our mentor? So, again, this is
Sure.
a
Sure.
very difficult situation.
Again, actually it is a situation where a bit of a mindset change is required. See, what generally we do is we are focusing upon the areas where we have the problem statement identified already, and we just want to get that problem statement in front of everyone and showcase it that okay, this is how I would like to do the research on this particular topic. Now let's take an example. What we generally do is, say for example, I have a specific area in which, say for example, problems in digital marketing. That is where I would like to have my research to be done on a digital marketing platform. Now when I say this digital marketing platform is something which I would like, but if I would be putting this as my research topic, it is not getting, approval. Or if even if I'm putting it, as you said very rightly, it will take 10 to 15 years for me to finish that, because it is a vast area. Now again, I was having the same discussion going on here as well, with one of my colleagues, that what is to be done, that is what the question was, which was raised in front. So what we are currently focusing upon is that, consider what topic you are first having the interest upon. The first step, considering the topic where you have the interest. Now find out from different platforms, you have the thrust areas. The thrust areas are the areas where we, as a researcher, or the people, those who are the authorities or the chairperson of that particular area, are putting the same research in a different way. Say, for example, I'm putting it digital marketing, but they will put it the way of future, considering the marketing scenarios of the world. So that is where you would be in the position to identify your research topic, but in terms of what is to be accepted by the current scenario. So this will help you to understand this mentor and trainee relationship, where, see, we have this problem as well. The people, those who are right now doing the research, and the people, those who are there as a guide, we have a very vast age gap. So currently what is going on in the scenario, in the market, in the current picture, and the person who is there as a guide and suggesting certain things to the mentee is totally different. So this particular gap should be narrowed down by understanding the thrust areas. So this will definitely help you. We have a lot of, this is a whole topic on which we can have a this sort of presentation as well. So if you will permit, in the near future we can have a session on this as well.
Thank you so much, sir. Both the questions handled very convincingly. And I think we have no more questions. And as you had suggested, definitely it would be an interesting area for discussion. And we will inculcate research culture among students and scholars and the future aspirants of research if this kind of session is taken, so that we tell
Sure.
them this research is feasible, possible, and it is within our reach. Thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful session. We will have a formal vote of thanks by Dr. Sumati, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce from Shri Krishnaswamy College for Women. Over to Dr. Sumati.
I am privileged to propose the vote of thanks for the second day FDB 2022 on research methodology and teaching. I express my gratitude to the management, Dean Dr. R. Revati, Principal Dr. Anita Rajendran for giving permission to contact this FTB. I express my thanks to the resource person, Mr. Ankit Pandya, for sharing his knowledge on teaching and research ethics. This topic was very useful to the teaching fraternity. I thank the conveners for this FTB. Thank you. Thank you once.
Thanks a lot, everyone, for listening to me very patiently. And I have a great team here who has, organized this whole session very well, a very well organized session. I would like to thank Mithilesh as well, because he's the one who has contacted us and had this particular all the things planned. Thanks a lot to the organizing committee members and all the participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. We will be closing the session now. Uh, Feedback link is posted in the group. We will end the broadcast now. Thank you, sir.